It's Ben Scrivener from Speak Life, and we're doing Reading Between the Lines. Our phrase for today is leaving and cleaving. I wonder what's the best bit of relationship advice you've ever received. What is it that will keep a relationship strong and healthy and thriving? People give all sorts of advice, don't they? Things like, you learn your partner's love language. You spend time, you go on date nights, good communication skills, good sex, never going to bed angry. The world is full of advice about what keeps us together. But let's ask another question. What's your best bit of relationship advice for you and God? How do you maintain a healthy relationship with God? Again, there's a lot of advice out there. There's devotional techniques, and there's prayer practices, and there's special pilgrimages, or if not pilgrimages, then there's conferences and paperbacks and podcasts and DVDs and all sorts of things. The church is full of advice on how we can stay close to God. What we're going to do, though, is have a look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, and we'll see the world's first bit of relationship advice. And this will be really good advice for marriage, but it will be sensational advice for our relationship with God. Here's what God says. Genesis chapter 2, verse 24. It comes at the end of, the Lord has made Eve for Adam. And how has He made Eve for Adam? You can check out the last two videos where we've thought about this. Adam goes down into a death-like sleep. His side is pierced. Great violence is done to him. Yet through that sacrifice, his bride is formed, and he's raised up and she's raised up, and they're brought together. And in the end, there is joy, there is consummation, there is singing. Wonderful. And then Genesis 2, verse 24. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. That's what the old translations used to say. Leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. That's, be united to his wife. And they will become one flesh. So there it is. There is the first bit of relationship advice in the world. Did you notice something a little bit odd about it? Who is it who leaves and cleaves in this relationship advice? You'd expect it, or you might expect it to be Eve, mightn't you? In that, Eve is a latecomer to the scene. Adam came first and then Eve comes along. Surely she should make the sacrifice. Adam should set the agenda and Eve should fall in line, right? Isn't that how it's meant to go? No, not at all. The man leaves father and mother, leaves behind the stuff of old in order to cleave to his wife. It is the man who is at the heart of, it's the man and his sacrifice that is at the heart of the healthy marriage. The uniting power of marriage, according to Genesis 2, verse 24, is not a technique or a skill or a bit of advice or a couple's retreat or a best-selling paperback or some homespun wisdom. What is meant to hold a marriage together? It's his initiative, his sacrifice, his resolve to unite with his wife. It's primarily the man's role to leave and to cleave. In the New Testament, it does talk a couple of times about husbands being heads in their marriage. That is in no sense a priority of privilege. It's in every sense a priority of responsibility. There is an onus on the man to leave behind the stuff that would threaten the marriage and to do everything in his power to unite with his wife on every level, emotionally and physically, and on every level, spiritually. The man is meant to leave and cleave. And so at the heart of a good marriage, there's all sorts of wonderful things, wonderful advice that you can give. There's all sorts of wonderful things that the wife can do. But the first bit of advice that God gives to married couples is the man must sacrifice in order to have this relationship. Now, if you're a husband right now, you're thinking, that's heavy, man. That's heavy. And in fact, all of us feel the heaviness of relationships at times, and we all feel in those disconnected moments where relationships go sour. We need help. We need a lot of help. We can't live up to this standard, this ideal of leaving and cleaving. So I'm going to finish with some good news. Here's the good news. In our relationship with God, it is the man of heaven who underwrites the relationship. It is the man of heaven who leaves and cleaves. He leaves the glories of heaven, always filled with the Spirit, always the Son of the Father, but he leaves the glories, the joys, the peace of heaven in order to cleave to us. And therefore it is his sacrifice and his determination to be one with us that defines the marriage, that defines our relationship with God. Psalm 63 verse 8 says something really interesting. The psalmist says, I cling to you, O God. And that's a wonderful truth. You know, we cling to God, and sometimes we feel like we're clinging, and, you know, we feel really close to God. But the verse goes on. It says, I cling to you. Then it says, your right hand upholds me. In our relationship with God, we cling to the Lord as best we can, and sometimes our lives go off a little bit, and our following after the Lord strays, and our souls feel dry, and our grip on the Lord feels weak. Our cleaving to the Lord waxes and wanes. It goes up and down. But here is the bottom line. His right hand upholds me. That's what the psalmist says. Whatever ups and downs we feel, our hope lies in his enduring love, in the man of heaven who will do everything, who will leave behind heaven in order to be one with us, in order to make whatever sacrifices are necessary, in order to go down into that death, have his side pierced, have violence done to him. He will do everything. He will sacrifice everything in order to make this relationship work. Our relationship with God is underwritten by the man of heaven, by Jesus Christ. Which means maybe today we feel up, and maybe today we feel down. Maybe we feel like we're clinging on tight to God, and maybe we feel like we're losing our grip. Well, remember, Jesus is God's right hand, and he is cleaving to you, holding you tight, and he won't let you go.